Hello, little wild things, and welcome to Art with Miss B. We're going to read a really famous book called Where the Wild Things Are. Some of you may have even read it before. It was written and illustrated by Maurice Sindak. While we're reading the story, I want you to look for how the artist used texture in the illustrations. Look for fur, look for feathers, look for scales. Look for bumpy textures. Look for anything slimy or smooth. I want you to see how the artist used textures to create the wild things. Then you're going to have a chance to make your own wild thing.
Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sindak. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another. His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night, in Max's room, a forest grew. And grew, and grew, until his ceiling hung with vines, and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day, and in and out of weeks, and almost over a year, to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened, and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start." Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then, all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried,
"Oh please, don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so."
And Max said, "No!" The wild things roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye, and sailed back over a year, and in and out of weeks, and through a day, and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him, and it was still hot.
Look carefully at how the artist used line to create texture in these illustrations. He used lines to create feathers, fur, scales, even bark on the trees. How will you create texture in your wild thing? I'm using a marker today so that you can see it better, but I want everyone to use a pencil when they're doing their drawing. Remember, your wild thing should be big and fill the whole page. going to start with the furry texture of the head by drawing little V's. Now I'll draw the horns on both sides. Using a large curving U shape, let's draw the body of our wild thing. And now for arms and hands on both sides. I'm going to draw sharp, pointy claws on my wild thing. And now for the legs and feet. My wild thing is also going to have sharp, pointy toes. Now let's draw the face. I'm going to start in the middle with a large wild thing nose. My wild thing is going to have a smile, but remember, your wild thing does not have to look just like my wild thing. Using a curving line, I'm going to draw the wild thing's tail. You can't see the whole tail because some of it is hidden behind our wild thing. Thanks for joining me for Art with Miss V. I'll see you next time.